Hey, welcome to Campaign 1. This is Session 2, Positioning and Creative Messaging. So we are now sitting in Week 2, and that's where we are right now. And what we're going to talk about today is marketing is storytelling. So, this is kind of what we're doing these days. We are living in an age of the story. And here's a great story to look at. Okay, so what you saw there was the Find Your Greatness campaign from Nike. Its purpose was to generate buzz on social media during the 22 Winter Olympics in Beijing. What we found was that it showcased the great many things that people can accomplish about human body and spirit, both athletic feats and everyday acts of kindness, bravery, and compassion. And the results were amazing. Grew Nike's revenue by $500 million, and Nike Plus, an interactive performance tool, grew that membership by 55%. The target was very broad. Consumer population. Now we talk about above the line kind of advertising. We're trying to attract as many people as we possibly can because we're going to call out our audience, so to speak. And that's what they're doing here. The insight, anyone with the body's an athlete. The campaign brought average people into the global club of athletes of all shapes and sizes. Something to really look at and say that fits right smack dab with Nike's positioning going way back a couple of decades to just do it. So when we move on from that, we need to remember something. A critical mistake many organizations make in defining something their customers want is they don't pare down that desire to a single focus. Donald Miller said this in a book called Building a Story Brand. A good read if you want to pick that up. We walk down the street here and we can see Times Square. Marketing's ubiquitous. We are inundated with messages. And as a result, we as marketers need to find a way to cut through, to break through that. And look, Nike did it with Find Your Greatness. It was a fun thing to watch. It caught our attention. It sucked us in. It caught our heart. It caught our minds. So now we're going to talk a little more deeply about brand positioning, because inserting your brand in the prospect's mind is a critical way that we do break through the clutter. Positioning is how the offering is perceived in the eyes of the customers, not as it's viewed by members of the firm. A positioning statement differentiates one product from another, creating unique space for the offering in the consumer's mind. And we did this little association game, right? We look at the things like fresh. What is that one? Late night. How about this one? Consistent. And then finally, what about healthy? Well, I think you'll find they line up like this. This is word association. It's not hard and fast, but it's generally speaking. McDonald's is consistent. You get the same thing everywhere. Fourth meal, that's Taco Bell. That's late night. And of course, fresh is Subway because they are not fried. That's kind of where they found a position in people's mind. They position themselves as not being fried like all their quick service food was at the time. Healthy is where Chipotle settled in because they localize their ingredients. They get as much as they possibly can, so it's there and it's good for you kind of stuff. Owning a word in the consumer's mind is like having a key to their attention. Magical, who's that? That's Disney. What about driving? That'd be BMW. And then finally refreshing. I think maybe Coca-Cola. Now, you can argue with these, but generally speaking, these are word associations that connect with the particular brand that we're talking about. Words are about one way to show you own space in the brain of your target customer, so we aim to do that oftentimes. Another way is to find the position, and this would be a nice little Venn diagram here with 3 questions: what consumers want, what you do best, and what your competitor does best. Over here, open and clear sailing. You can own this space. What your consumers want, what you do best, you ought to be able to communicate that and get a sizable share of that market. Down here, dangerous territory, highly competitive. It's what your consumers want, but what your competitor does best, probably not a good battle to take on. This one's undifferentiated. You have a chance here if you can find some innovative and emotional connection that crosses the line between what you do best and what your competitor does best. How do we find leverage over them? Differentiating, that's how we do it. So we'll get to this in lesson 4, but USP, unique selling proposition, is the way that we identify the space and act appropriately. It informs our communication, so to speak. Differential advantage, a benefit or a cluster of benefits offered to a considerable group of customers who value and are willing to pay for, but cannot get elsewhere, or they believe they can't get elsewhere. Now, the key here is considerable group of customers, and that would be our target market, right? And when we think about the two important things here, then we look at benefit on one side and target market on the other, and the brand in the middle. The benefit in this case, I'm going to give you an example. 70 million tracks, personalized playlist, cross-device synchronization, social sharing playlist, and podcast friendly. Finally, they play on other devices. Who is that? If you said Spotify, you'd win the prize. Now, how do they get their target? Well, they're looking for people that are music enthusiasts of all genres, podcast listeners, social media savvy users who enjoy sharing their music tastes, users across various age groups and demographics. That's essentially how we leverage the differential advantage. In Spotify, finding a place in the mind is an important thing. Creating a distinct identity in the mind of the target customer, that's what we call positioning. So we create positioning statements, and that might be 4 actions to take. One is to define the target market. Another is specify the value that the customers in that market seek. Determine the competitive set for the product and provide evidence of the value it offers. We do that, and we're probably on our way to actually finding a place in the mind. This is an example of a fill-in-the-blank positioning statement. This kind of pares it down to the bare essentials. And we think about Southwest, for example. In our Southwest example is the best value in short-haul travel among all domestic air carriers because it provides low-priced, on-time travel. Pretty succinct, pretty workable too. Now, line that up with what their stated purpose is, their mission statement. Connect people to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and low-cost air travel. That's nice when your stated purpose or your mission statement lines up with your desired positioning. That's what we call alignment, connection. And when we think about the 3 things that make up this positioning statement, it's target segment, who we're trying to reach. It is the frame of reference, and that is, who are we competing with? And then finally, it is about the point of differentiation. And in this case, the point of differentiation, well, we're looking for that. And we find out the target we're trying are all people, right? But there's a special part of this that is all people, so to speak. We'll get back to in a second. We're looking at a frame of reference where it's low-cost air travel. We're not even competing with global carriers. We're just talking about, domestic U.S.-based travel and low cost as possible, and yet not sacrificing too much. Now, what is the point of differentiation? We say it's people, but people that we're really looking for are what's important in their lives. So we have to identify what's important in people's lives. One of the things that Southwest customers like, they actually choose to fly because it's cheap, easy, you don't have to even get a seat assignment. And this is kind of an artful approach, so to speak, by the marketer. They have to figure out who it is that is really falling in that. Whole Foods, there's a good one. We think about Whole Foods in terms of target segment. It might be, to purposes to nourish people, or the whole idea of having some sort of a frame of reference is that they're competing with food retailers, and a point of difference, might be something along the lines of that quality, that nourishing people and planet and quality state of mind is important at Whole Foods. That's what it really comes down to. They do have a different state of mind there. I think you'll notice it when you go to that store. So Whole Foods is to nourish people and the planet among all retail food outlets, and with the idea of quality as a state of mind. That's what they're doing at Whole Foods. So that little example will give you another idea that maybe these 3 things play everywhere: target segment, frame of reference, point of difference. So to summarize, positioning occurs in the mind of the consumer. It aims to connect brand with the target customer. And the positioning statement includes the target segment, the frame of reference, and the point of difference. Hope that clears up some issues for you, and we'll see you soon in another video near you.